The next topic we want to discuss is capital rationing. Now, what do we mean by capital rationing? Well, capital rationing is an artificial constraint set by management on how much money can be spent on projects in total. So, management may determine that there's a limit to how much we are willing to invest this year in capital projects, and we're going to impose that limit even if it means we're going to end up not taking some positive net present value projects. Now, why might management do this? Well, it may be that management has a fear of growing too fast. If the company grows too rapidly, it may be hard to manage the company. It may be hard to train managers sufficiently, and so a more steady, sustained, slow growth might be preferred. There may also be a hesitation to access external funding sources. So perhaps management has had discussions with the bank, and the bank has said, we're comfortable lending you $2 million, but we're not very comfortable lending $3 million. And absent being able to raise some additional capital, it doesn't make sense to undertake these new projects. So perhaps there's a feeling that it's not really an artificial constraint in that case. There's a real constraint that you just can't raise the money to take all the projects that you believe are worthwhile. So assuming that this is an artificial constraint, capital rationing hinders the firm in maximizing firm value. But let's take an example, look at how it might be applied. If we have let's say that management has decided there's going to be a total of $5 million spent on capital budgeting projects for this particular year, and it's considering a set of projects. And these projects are ranked here in terms of net present value along the right-hand side. So we've ranked these projects in terms of net present value. And on the under investment, we show the total amount of money that we're investing in each project. Well, we work our way down the list. If we take project A, it's going to require that we spend $2 million. Okay, but we earn a $400,000 net present value. If we undertake project B, that's not quite as good a project. We're only earning a $380,000 net present value. If we take project C, it requires that we spend $1 million, and now we have spent our entire budget. So under capital rationing, we're only going to choose projects A, B, and C. Project D and E, both of these projects have positive NPVs. Without capital rationing, we would want to take those projects on. But under the capital rationing, we're not going to. Project F has a negative net present value. We wouldn't want to take that anyway, even without capital budgeting. So the net result is, under capital budgeting, we're going to take these three projects. Under capital rationing, we'll take those three projects. Absent capital rationing, we would take all 5 of those projects, but we would not take project F under either circumstance. Okay, the Profitability Index, I'm just going to mention this in passing. When there's capital rationing, firms will occasionally turn to the use of something called a Profitability Index to rank order projects, because the Profitability Index scales by the amount of the investment. If you know you're going to have a limited amount to invest, you want to get the best bang for your buck, and a mechanism for judging that is this Profitability Index. That's mentioned in a footnote in the chapter, for our purposes, I'm just going to mention that it exists. I'm not going to ask you to solve any problem with the profitability index, but just know that there's this other criteria that's occasionally used when capital rationing is required.